let's get started painting. Okay, now if you don't have an apple, don't sweat it. Pull something up online. Because let me tell you something, nobody's ever going to look at your painting and go, oh, show me the apple that went with that. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to look at it and go, oh, that's an apple. How nice is that? So just pick up a picture or an apple. It's totally fine. You can even go to the grocery store and take pictures of apples and paint those. It's cool, right? Here is my timer. Let's do this. Oh, let me turn that down. I don't need the reminder that I'm being clocked. Okay, how I'm going to approach this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out where the top is, and I'm going to choose this apple. He's nice and crooked. He's got some neat little variations. Top of the apple. Bottom of the apple. Side. From here I can kind of adjust it a little bit. So here's the middle. And that's essentially just connecting the dots, right? He's kind of crooked up here. I'm using burnt sienna to actually sketch it out. Okay, kind of satisfied with that. Next thing I'm going to do is block in the colors. So because I've got some new colors on here, I'm going to want to mix colors together. I'm going to want to play with them. Alizarin Crimson is a cool color, so I know I want to put that into the shadow area. And it's going to tone my red to more towards a cool red. Okay, I might grab a little bit of the Prussian blue over here and I can really make it uber cool. Okay, and that's where the shadow is going to be. So far I'm not really using any medium as well. I'm going to grab some of the orange because I'm working right now and blocking in the darks. Notice how I'm creating a pile of color variation. Cleaning off my brush in between. Now I'm going to move into the yellows. So what I have, this is a cadmium medium yellow, which is a warm yellow, and I'm going to dull that down with my yellow ochre. I find in nature that things seem to go more towards the classic palette and are a little bit more dull. And so you got to kind of make a decision on how do you want this to be. Do you want it to be more natural? Or do you want it to be more vibrant? I picked up some of the other color there, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my brush a little bit. I'm actually using paper towel, wiping it off in between. So you see how I've only really played in red, yellow, blue, right? And it's making a very nice variation of colors. Moving in the direction, my strokes in the direction that I see the apple, kind of curving and bringing around. Okay, got a basic structure in there. I'm going to go ahead and move into the background. Background, I want to play in my other teals here, or my other blues. So I've got two cool colors, my Prussian blue and cobalt teal. I love teal. If you've come to our studio, you'll see teal is all over the place. And so you'll notice also these couple other paintings, I really play in teal a lot, just trying to figure out how can I bring this color more into my paintings. I'm actually grabbing a little bit of Gamsol here to loosen up the paint a little bit. Grab more paint. If I go over my apple a little bit, it is going to pick up some of those colors, so you just kind of keep that in mind. And grab some of this Prussian blue and create the shadows. Ooh, loving that. Such a pretty blue. You cannot make these blues using just the classic palette. Love it. Okay. Again, these colors are all in that rooster painting. Cleaning off my brush. Grab some more of the blue. I haven't played with Perylene Red yet. I'm going to get there though. So I know that Perylene Red is another warm red, so I can probably bring that into where some of the highlights are. Okay, I'm going to make that a little lighter on that side so the shadow makes sense. So I've got the light coming from this direction. So the light's going to hit here, it's going to shadow over there. So I'm going to change up this background just a little bit. I'm going to take some of this cool Prussian blue. I'm going to add in some cool alizarin crimson, and OMG. The purple that comes from that is such a cool, lovely color. We want cool in the shadow. I'm going to pull a little bit of that in here too. And really set that off. I'm going to put a little bit here. Notice I haven't put the stem in yet. The stem is one of the last details that I'm going to do because I'm going to really mess with all of this. Now, one of the things that I do is I do blend. And how I blend is using a mop brush, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Why I blend is because a lot of times when I paint, I focus on the light, like the extreme light and the extreme dark. By blending it in together, I can create the medium tones that are in between. So it makes it nice and easy. And that's what I'm going to do in 1 second. I'm going to add a little bit more light around here. Yeah. Now I'm going to blend. My blending brush is actually a mop brush that they use in watercolors, but I find it great for this. So how my approach, I'm going to go from light to dark. I am going to focus in on the yellow. I want to be so careful not to contaminate my yellow with any other colors. And that's just something that I'm choosing to do today. Sometimes I don't do that. Okay, the other thing that I'm doing with my blending brush, I'm going to create some soft edges. What the soft edges really help it do is it's going to make it look more three-dimensional. How I create a soft edge is I'm just kind of ever so slightly blending in the background into the foreground. How am I doing on time? All right, I got about 5 minutes left. Sweet. Now, with time limits, you can set yourself up for like, 20, 25 minutes, whatever you want to do. There's really no right or wrong for that. I like to set a time limit in my beginning painting, my daily painting, so that I don't lose track of time and forget about my commissions and things that I work on, or other projects that I have going on. Ooh, and I got a hair in it. Okay, there we go. I shed. It's a problem. Okay, I'm gonna blend that in a little bit back there. All right, I already feel a little bit better. I feel more relaxed. I feel like I can actually paint something now. I'm not totally dissatisfied with what I've already done, so that's good. Okay, I'm going to add in some highlights. Now, you'll notice that I've really kind of used one brush this whole time. You can use as many brushes as you want. As far as brushes recommendations, that's a personal preference that you're really going to have to develop. I like these Escodas. They are pretty, they're not cheap. All right, let me find my highlight here. I'm going to add in some variations of color. But I like the Escodas, and I like Rosemary's, of course, and I also like the Robert Simmons Titanium series. They just hold their they hold their shape really well, and they're not so expensive. Like if I, ruin one, I don't cry about it, type thing. Some more. I'm just kind of poking around on it, getting some color variation. Again, nobody's going to ask to see the apple that this actually generated from, so I'm not going to try and paint every single one of these little dots. All right. Last minute, I am going to add the stem. Grabbing some of the burnt umber and might go in between here. Notice how I took it down thick here, took it up and twisted it. Now I can actually just kind of add on where it broke, and then I can add in the highlights. So I am going to try and move relatively fast on these next things because I want to really accentuate the dark. Dark is down here where it's being separated. Okay. There we go. Now it makes more sense. Okay, and I'm going to add in some yellow. yellow and brown make a weird kind of green. So I can use that as a highlight for my stem. And last touch, about 15 seconds. All right, here we go. Highlight. Right about there. Okay, well, it dinged. It dinged, and that does tell you to stop. But here's the thing: it's like your hand's not going to get slapped if you continue to paint on it. But I do want you to take a minute, step back after that ding, evaluate what you've done, and maybe take a second and see what could I change. Like right now, what I'm seeing, this thing that's happening right here doesn't round it out. Okay, so maybe I'll take the next couple minutes and fix that. So let's see, I'm gonna take round it out just a little bit. There we go. Because the apple doesn't sit on that much of the surface space, so it was kind of weirding me out by looking like it was sitting on a lot of shadow. Okay. All right, let me fix this up here. Okay. The other thing that I don't particularly care for is there's not a subtle transition from light to dark when it comes to the sparkle. So I'm going to add that transition. And the other thing that I'm not seeing is some of these little things in the background that I just kind of want to call attention to. Okay. And I'm going to add a little bit more of a highlight to my stem. Okay, and then I am going to call this complete for a warm-up painting. Okay, last touch. Use the back of your paintbrush, scrape in your signature. And that's all she wrote, folks. So go ahead and paint your apple. Remember to kind of sketch it out a little bit, set your timer. Again, nobody's going to slap your hand if you take more than, 15 minutes. If you want to bump it up to 25, bump it up to 30, bump it up to 45. And here's the trick is, today, paint it maybe 3 or 4 times if you want. First time, do it at like 25 minutes. Next time, take it down to 15. Next time, take it down to 10. Each time, you're going to learn something. And you're going to be able to improve your painting each time. It's pretty cool. So anyway, that's all she wrote, and I hope you have a good time painting your apple. And take a bite out of it. Make it a little more interesting if you want. And so, we'll see you soon on the next painting.